When it comes to self-development, no matter the method you use, the vital point is to practice. If you're ready to transform your life and claim the potential inside of you, then you're in the right place. Welcome back to the Vital Point podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Schecter. As a transformation coach and breathwork facilitator, I'm invested in making the dynamic landscape of personal evolution accessible. My goal is to inspire you to take action for yourself. You have the capacity to evolve and bring your intentions and dreams into the world, and there's never been more access to so many incredible modalities that can help you on your journey. This podcast will help you learn simple methods you can use to transform your life and share the stories of practitioners who are doing the work so that you feel inspired to go and practice, because that's the vital point. On today's show, I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite simple practices with you. This is something that I do every day. It is an essential part of my regimen for nervous system health. And it's also something that I use for journeying, as well as something that's really helped me transform overall. One of the most common questions that I hear is, how can the breath help with psychedelic integration? And that's a great question. And I really consider breathwork an essential piece of the puzzle, whether you are interested in doing psychedelic integration, whether you're interested in doing other inner work, and just in general for your life. The breath is so important. The breath is the remote control for our nervous system. It's the connection between our body and mind, our body and spirit, and really our connection to a bigger world that's happening outside of ourselves. One of the things that you will definitely learn as you get into doing psychedelic work is that these experiences can be very intense and extreme in the moment. And they can be a real catalyst for change, but that doesn't just happen automatically by virtue of you ingesting a medicine. You have to put in some of that work, and you also have to be present. And for me, breath work and being connected to the breath in all its different facets is really at the crux of my integration practice. It's what's inspired me to do what I'm doing as far as being a breathwork facilitator and being a coach. And it's also what has inspired me to move from sort of marketing and labeling myself as an integration coach and pivot into transformation coaching. Because while I totally believe that psychedelics can be transformative for a lot of people, and they have been for me, you don't necessarily have to use psychedelics for inner work, for transformation. And in fact, in the last year, I've worked with a lot of clients through my job as an integrative therapist at residential treatment center for behavioral health that are not working with psychedelics and are still having some of the same struggles that you may be approaching psychedelic work hoping to fix. Things like anxiety, things like depression, things like feeling stuck, things like habits that are no longer serving you that you're ready to let go of, and yet it's just not happening quite as quickly as you'd like it to. That's really where I've pivoted in my own practice from calling myself a psychedelic integration coach to really being a transformation coach who's working with clients to help regulate their nervous system so that they can get more out of their psychedelic work, so that they can create the transformation that they're looking for. And while there are a lot of different tools that I use for myself and to help my clients, things like parts work, things like mindfulness practice, things like somatic experiencing, the most important tool in my toolkit is my breath. There's so many different ways that the breath is used for this type of support. And I'll just briefly mention 3 of them before I get into the actual breathwork modality that I'm going to share with you. So 3 very important things that the breath will help you with as far as your integration, as far as your transformation. Number 1 is awareness. You can't change something if you're not aware of it. And the breath is one of the primary methods that we have to start to develop that awareness. Awareness of our breath, awareness of our body, awareness of our thoughts, and of our mind. Just pausing and taking a deep breath in and out. And then if you put a hand on your chest and a hand on the belly and just notice as you breathe in, where do I feel that breath in my body? As I slow down a little bit, what else do I notice? In my mind, with my thoughts, with my breath, with my body. You know what's funny is like I just noticed like my voice got a little bit calmer. You know, I had a lot of this excited podcast enthusiasm, and just taking a couple of deep breaths and kind of turning the attention inward a bit just really helped to settle me. The second thing that we can use the breath for is nervous system regulation. So again, if we're thinking of this metaphor of the breath is the remote control of the nervous system, we can use the breath to turn things down, right? I'm sure most of us have heard at some point in our life, take a deep breath and relax. Now, whether that works for you or not, you know, your results may vary depending on a lot of different factors, such as your level of regulation, the amount of trauma you're working with, your current stress level, all kinds of different things. But my point with sharing that is that we sort of intuitively know that the breath is the way into relaxation. We can also use the breath to turn the volume up. And when I'm saying turn up, turn down, we're talking about these 2 parts of the nervous system. We're talking about the sympathetic, the fight or flight, and the parasympathetic, the rest and digest. And, you know, another way that you could think of these systems is the gas and the brake pedal. So we can use the brake pedal to slow down. We can use the gas pedal to speed up. As far as using our breath for that, we can use the breath to activate ourselves, to bring energy, to wake up, to get ready to do something. We can also use the breath to calm, to relax, to slow the heart rate, to really get more grounded, right? Can work with that brake pedal. And then a third thing to mention that we can use our breath for is for exploration, to reach expanded states of consciousness, for inner work, for exploration. The breath is just as psychedelic as any medicine that I've worked with. And believe me, I've worked with most of them. And for those that, you know, kind of look at me skeptically when I say that, I would bet some money that you've never done a holotropic breathwork session. The scale at which you may be able to reach expanded states with medicine as opposed to the breath might be quicker. It might be more accessible because you have a molecule helping you out. But the breath is just as transformative, just as psychedelic as working with any plant medicine, psychedelic, entheogen, whatever you want to call it. And so today I'd like to share one method that I use every day, that I help my clients with, and that I teach in a lot of my groups and sessions with clients. And that is heart coherence breathing. And This is very important for me in my daily life. And so my goal with this presentation is to definitely share some of my, secret sauce that I use for myself and that I help my clients with in my larger coaching containers, like the Breathwork for Integration 6-week container. So let's get into using heart coherence breathwork. One of the most important things about using the breath for integration and nervous system regulation is following some principles. So the first principle that you're going to want to follow is breathing through the nose as much as possible, unless you are doing a specific type of breath work. Now, sometimes you might be, exercising in a way that kind of force you into breathing through the mouth. But overall, just thinking about trying to breathe through the nose as much as possible. The next thing that you're going to want to do is start to notice where your breath is coming from so that you can be breathing using your diaphragm as much as possible. So if your hand is up here and you're noticing there's a lot of movement in that hand, your shoulders are moving, you're breathing through the top of the chest, that's going to give you some information that's probably going to indicate that the nervous system isn't always regulated. You may feel a lot of anxiety. And so you want to start thinking about bringing the breath down deeper. When I'm coaching, I will invite people to start with thinking about breathing into the belly, but the diaphragm actually goes all the way around. It's a 360 degree thing. So you could literally put your hands at the bottom of your rib cage, and as you take a deep breath in, you should feel that expansion all the way around. But if you're not used to this, that can be a lot. So just starting with thinking about breathing into the belly is a great place to start. Some other sort of benefits of doing heart coherence breathing, first of all, it's going to help balance your nervous system. So it's going to balance that brake and gas pedal. And as we balance, we come into a state of physiological coherence, right? The technique is called heart coherence breathing, where the body systems operate with increased efficiency and harmony. It's going to lower stress. It's going to help lower your cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone, increase the secretion of DHEA, which is sometimes referred to as the anti-aging hormone. Both of these are going to lead to reduced stress and better mood. It's going to lower your heart rate, lower your blood pressure. This is also going to reduce stress. Regularly practicing this can improve your cognitive performance. It's going to increase your focus, improve decision-making abilities. It's also going to improve your emotional regulation. As you start to get activated, having the ability to take some deep breaths and slow down rather than be reactive is a very important skill to have, and one that we can develop through things like breath work. So staying calm under pressure. It's a wonderful, sort of side effect of my practice is catching myself getting worked up or being worked up about something and then coming back into connection with my breath. It's going to improve your cardiovascular health, like I mentioned, lowering blood pressure and increasing the heart rate variability, okay, which is the measure of the change between how fast the heart is beating when it breathes in versus breathes out. This also helps with the nervous system balancing and nervous system regulation. It's going to enhance your immune system. So there's evidence to suggest that coherence breathing makes us more resilient to illness. Some practitioners will even talk about this type of breathing enhancing their intuition and creativity and clarity of thought. Come out of this type of breathing feeling very relaxed, but also very aware. Another benefit that I really use this type of breathing for is better sleep. So with lower stress and being more physiologically coherent, I know my sleep has gotten a lot better. and I'm able to go to sleep a lot quicker. And it's definitely something that I practice before bed because it really like helps. Oftentimes I work at night a lot. And so as I'm working, I'm using some of that sympathetic activation. I'm not fighting or flighting, but I'm like definitely activated and really using that activation. So when I get done, I'm not just like ready to go to bed. So after I get done working, I will put myself down and do 30 minutes of heart coherence breathing, which definitely helps prime me for sleep. Overall, this practice is just feelings of increased well-being, calmness, balance. It's just one of the best things that you can do for yourself. And as you get more used to doing it, you can take that state, you can take that awareness into your psychedelic work. I'm not going to lie and say that I've been using it the whole time. I have had some wild macro experiences that, I'm just hanging on for dear life. But recently, and especially in the year plus that I've been practicing heart coherence breathing daily, when I have journeyed, I have been really intentional about staying with my breath and practicing this heart coherence breathing. I'm more present, I'm more regulated, I'm calmer, I'm more aware, and I feel like I've gotten a lot more out of my psychedelic work. Not to mention practicing so that my nervous system is more regulated before I go into a journey and having more clarity when I am, post journey doing intentional integration work. So it's definitely something that I would recommend everybody do on a regular basis. If you can practice every day, that would be great. Start with 5 minutes. I do 30 minutes a day. I didn't start with that, but it is something that is very important to me. So we're going to do 5 minutes of practice together here. And then once you have that down, come back to this podcast to, practice as you need. But also, like, as you get the cadence of the breath and you start to practice on a regular basis, you can increase your practice, the length of it, maybe do a few sessions during the day, whatever's going to make you feel best. But consistency is always going to be key when we're talking about breath work. You may do something once and it might feel really great, but you're really going to get that nervous system regulation benefit from practicing on a regular basis. So find a nice place to sit. You could lay down if you'd like, but definitely sitting up is okay too. If you're sitting up, just think about having your spine be straight, but not rigid. Again, putting one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly is just a great sort of breathwork tip for building that awareness, that connection between the breath and the body. And just take a few breaths to arrive here in the space. Notice where you feel your breath in the body. If you feel it more in your chest, can you see if you can drop the breath just a little bit? Think about pouring water into a glass. The water goes all the way to the bottom and then begins to fill upward. So taking a deep breath in. If you're watching, see how my belly started to fill first and moved upwards. But just taking a few breaths to arrive. Noticing if there's anything in the body that's demanding your attention. Notice if there's any discomfort. If there is, see if you can just breathe into it. Let your breath fully fill that space. See if you can release any of it as you breathe out. And feel free to pause the podcast as needed to take as much time as you want here. As we get ready to move into our coherence breathing, we're going to breathe for anywhere between 5 and 6 seconds in and 5 and 6 seconds out. You'll find the cadence that works best for you. You'll find the rhythm that works best for you. I would suggest starting with 5 seconds, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. If that doesn't feel right, if it feels strenuous, starting with 4 seconds. And then just having the intention that as you continue to practice, you'll continue to expand. So, again, coming back to our principles, breathing through the nose, breathing deep in the body. If you can, breathing in and out through the nose, but at least trying to breathe in through the nose. And just slowing that breath down. So we'll breathe in for a little over 5 seconds and out for a little over 5 seconds. And I'll just count us in to begin. But as we get into a practice, and you get the rhythm of it, feel free to adjust as you need. But thinking about 5 seconds being at least the baseline. Okay? So breathing in and out. In and out. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just stay with the breath. Slow and deep. In and out. In, out. In and out. Just staying with that breath, making whatever adjustments you need for yourself. Maybe it's a little bit longer, maybe it's a little bit shorter. But breathing in and out. You're doing great. We're almost there. One more breath in and out. And then taking a moment just to notice how you feel in the body. Taking a moment to notice what's changed. How do you feel? And so this is what I would call the level 1 of the heart coherence breath. Level 2 is something that I get into in my coaching containers. Hope you enjoyed that practice. Please bookmark it, come back when you need it. And if you have any additional questions about this type of breathing or using breathwork for your integration practice, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at Blue Magic Alchemy on Instagram or bluemagicalchemy@gmail.com. Definitely sign up for my newsletter at bluemagicalchemy.com. And one of the best ways that you can support the podcast is by leaving a review. Doesn't cost anything, only takes a minute, but subscribe and leave a review on whatever platform you are listening or watching. It really helps get the show in front of more people. It's just how these algorithms work. Until next time, my friends, appreciate you being here. Appreciate you sticking with it and supporting the show. And most of all, I appreciate that you are interested in practice. You know, like my meditation teacher, David Nichtern, says, words don't cook rice. I can share my knowledge with you here on the podcast, but if you don't practice it, it's not going to help your nervous system. It's not really going to help when you're doing your psychedelic journeys. So the real key is to practice yourself. And I'm proud of you for your interest, for your curiosity, and for showing up for yourself. So thanks again for tuning in. Until the next episode, keep exploring, keep growing, and above all, keep practicing, because that's the vital point.